My boyfriend of 21 months suffocated me with jealousy, controlling who I could talk to. After losing my best friend and feeling abandoned, I longed for friendship. Did I cross a line when I confided in a guy classmate? I just wanted someone to care. Now I'm haunted. Did I cheat? Okay, so it started off when I was in Brazil with my boyfriend 2 summers ago. My best friend from childhood passed away in an accident. This was very difficult for me. I was extremely sad and felt so guilty because I had not spoken to him or replied to his texts for the previous 3 months, as my boyfriend told me I was not allowed to communicate with any other men, even my old friends. I left Brazil for the funeral, and my boyfriend was hurt that I departed because his family lives in Brazil, and I was supposed to be staying there with them. But I had to go. I remember feeling that my boyfriend did not seem to understand how devastating this was losing my friend. I remember feeling very alone during that time and hurting greatly from the loss of my friend. Anyway, my boyfriend and I got into many arguments while he was in Brazil and I was at home. I remember expressing to him how I felt that he did not care for me, among other things. He told me he was trying to enjoy his time with his family, which I understand because he rarely gets to see them. However, we ended up with a lot of tension, and in the midst of my emotional pain, I ended up threatening to break up. We did this often, but never seriously. I recall he actually agreed this time. I told him no, that I was just upset and thought that, as usual, we would figure it out. But this time was different. He actually called me and told me essentially that he was uncertain how we would work things out, and he envisioned his future children being with his family in Brazil one day. This shattered my world. I had never experienced such pain. I could not eat, lost 15 pounds, and found it impossible to sleep. It was honestly the lowest point I had ever reached, fearing I would lose him. We eventually became okay, but I was filled with so much fear now. Before this, I thought we were getting engaged that summer. I believed he was going to propose. Then this happened where he wanted to break up. He would tell me he did not want to, but for the first time I was genuinely uncertain if he wanted me. He returned to the United States and things felt really awkward. I remember feeling so terrible as I was overwhelmed with the fear that he would leave me. I was also disappointed that we were not engaged yet. Then when we returned to college, we attend different colleges, things were still very strange. It was as though I lacked the security of knowing he wanted me. This caused me considerable anxiety and made me feel like I was being bothersome. On top of all of this, it was my senior year of college and everything changed on campus. My best friend and former roommate moved off campus and I rarely saw her. My sister, who is my current roommate, was dating someone on campus and was constantly with her boyfriend. Many of my close friends graduated. I felt incredibly alone. I remember eating meals by myself in my dorm every day. I felt like a weirdo, a loner, as if something were wrong with me. I had lost my best friend in the car accident and genuinely felt that I had no friends to spend time with. My boyfriend was available to text and call, but there was no one on campus to be with. I have always struggled with worrying about how I appear to the world. I did not want to be seen as that girl without a social circle, without friends. Therefore, I decided to attempt to make some friends. I would pray to God for help in making friends. Still, nothing worked out. All the girls on campus seemed to have their own social circles already. After all, I was a senior and no longer perceived as someone who needed to engage in small groups to make friends. I remember trying so hard to connect with people, but nothing would stick. I am a relatively quiet person who has always relied on others to engage with me to form friendships, so it felt strange for me to try to make friends. I recall one day I was walking to class when a guy I had seen before introduced himself. He simply asked my name and major the typical things people discuss. Later that day, I noticed he had added me on Instagram. I accepted this, finding it intriguing. This might sound odd, but I have always assumed that when men do this, they have a crush or some interest. However, since I attend a Christian college, I thought perhaps he was just being friendly. Anyway, time passed, and then one day I posted an Instagram story about a Starbucks drink, asking which one was better for people to vote on. He commented that neither was good and that Dunkin' was better. I remember feeling happy that he commented because it indicated he was paying attention to me and remembered me. We began a conversation with me stating that Starbucks was far superior. He mentioned that he had never had Starbucks, so I proposed that we go together so he could experience how much better it was than Dunkin'. I remember feeling excited, thinking this was my chance to make a friend. I have always found it easier to befriend men than women. Men are simpler to connect with. Usually, if they think you are attractive, they want to be your friend. I assumed this was the case with him, that he probably had a crush on me, which is why he was talking to me. I found it interesting, though, because on my Instagram I have many pictures of my boyfriend and me kissing, etc. Therefore, I was uncertain about his intentions since he clearly saw that I was in a relationship. The next day, I planned to go home for the weekend. I deleted our messages and did not text him that weekend because I did not want my boyfriend to see and become angry, claiming I could not talk to him. My boyfriend does not want me to have male friends and has been upset in the past if I messaged any guy, even remotely. When I returned that week, I texted this guy again. He merely asked how my weekend was, etc. I was excited to have a friend on campus with whom I could hang out, someone to do things with so that I wasn't alone. I hoped he would want to be my friend. I then remember texting him and he asked what I was up to. I responded that I was bored and studying. He inquired if I wanted to study with him. I agreed and went to meet him. I remember preparing to see him and putting on some makeup because I did not want him to find me unattractive or disgusting and decide not to be my friend. I met him and we studied together. He asked how my summer had been, and I expressed that it was awful due to losing my best friend. I then mentioned that things were tough afterward as well because of everything involving my boyfriend. I think I mentioned this partly because it was true, partly because I wanted him to know I had a boyfriend, and partly subconsciously because I hoped he would want to be my friend, thinking perhaps he would be more inclined to do so if he believed my boyfriend and I were having problems. I was unsure if he liked me like had a crush, but knew many of my past male friends had secretly had a crush on me as they later admitted, which was why they wanted to be my friend. I think that's why I thought that regardless of his intentions, if he secretly liked me, at least I would have a friend, so I didn't care about his motives as long as I had someone to spend time with. I understood that I did not find him attractive and would never want to date him, so I did not believe I was doing anything wrong. I realized I would never consider breaking up with my boyfriend for him or crossing a boundary that would be considered cheating, such as flirting or any physical contact. So I thought that if he kind of liked me, maybe he would want to be my friend more. I could just ensure that I never reciprocated that crush and everything would be fine. During our conversation, he apologetically acknowledged my pain and I found myself crying without wanting to. Discussing everything made me emotional. I felt foolish for being so vulnerable, but it was just an incredibly challenging chapter in my life, discussing the awful experiences of the summer that had been traumatic for me. He then gave me a hug goodbye, I believe out of compassion for my emotional state. Later, he texted me, and I apologized for crying and breaking down in front of him when he barely knew me. He replied that it was fine and he was glad to be there to listen. I remember thinking how he is a Christian and likely being nice out of sympathy for me. Days later, I saw him while getting coffee on campus and he initiated a conversation. I felt happy because I had someone to share coffee with on campus. We discussed various topics and I mentioned one of my female friends who he could get to know. He told me about his family, etc. He shared his celebrity crushes when I asked about his type, trying to persuade him to like my friend. He afterward asked me about mine. I shared some, wondering if he was doing this because he liked me or what. I made sure not to flirt with him during the conversation. Then I invited him to get Starbucks after class. He readily agreed, saying that he would pick me up. On the way there, he casually talked about various subjects, such as where he was from. He then asked how my boyfriend and I were doing. I shared some of my worries. Reflecting on this, I think I knew that by mentioning concerns about my relationship, I might give him hope that we would break up. But in my mind, I believed I would never break up with my boyfriend. Therefore, I did not see it as wrong. I appreciated having someone listen to me, giving me attention and showing that they cared. I would express some issues I was facing while following up with, but I love him and cannot let him go. Because these were genuine concerns, I think I exaggerated them a little, acting as if they were more significant to me than they truly were since I was certain I wanted to be with my boyfriend and marry him. Part of my anger toward my boyfriend stemmed from wanting him to propose already because I was eager to marry him. I never questioned whether I wanted to remain with my boyfriend at that time. Anyway, I brought up my female friend again to ensure he recognized that I was attempting to set him up with someone. I tried to gauge his response to see if he dismissed her, indicating an interest in me. However, he stated he liked her. I felt slightly worried that if they started dating, I would end up in the same situation as before, where he would spend all his time with her, like my sister with her boyfriend, leaving me alone again with no friends. This saddened me. I did not want him to date her, not because I wanted to date him, but because if he had a girlfriend, I would be left without anyone to hang out with again. He paid for my coffee, which I found a little unusual, but my former male friend would do that too. I recall sitting and drinking coffee when I spilled some on my hand. He cleaned it with his finger, which I thought was somewhat strange, but I enjoyed that he cared for me. I think I was craving human contact and care so desperately. I never found him attractive. He was honestly the furthest thing from my type. He also offered me his jacket as we left because it was freezing. I refused to wear it because I felt that was reserved for my boyfriend. Instead, I simply placed it on my hands in the car to avoid appearing rude. I also tried to match him up with another friend. I wanted him and my boyfriend to meet one day. I simply did not know how to arrange it without my boyfriend freaking out over my male friendship. One time, while we were texting, I sent him the softball roster. I am on the softball team, and asked which one he would like me to set him up with. He replied that none of them were really his type, and I thought, maybe he really does not find me attractive. It was interesting because most of my male friends would usually say they liked one of them but mentioned she has a boyfriend, indicating me. I felt a bit down, thinking maybe I'm unattractive, but then I reminded myself that I didn't want him anyway. Eventually, I told my boyfriend everything that had transpired the following week. I had looked online to see if having a male friend was inappropriate, and people kept saying that keeping it a secret was wrong, which is when I decided to inform him. I did not want to do anything wrong or hurt my boyfriend. I loved my boyfriend, I just really wanted a friend to hang out with during that time. I also contemplated that if my boyfriend and I broke up, I would never date this friend, but it would be nice to have someone there for me as a friend. This guy friend was very unattractive to me, and upon reflection, I did not truly care about who he was as a person. I paid little attention to what he said or what made him unique. I simply enjoyed that he was attentive to me. Once I informed my boyfriend, I immediately ceased all communication with this guy. I noticed that I did not care about losing that friendship. It did not hurt me to cut him out of my life at all. I have so much fear because I looked up information regarding cheating. At no moment did I feel that I crossed any lines in my mind because I believed I was maintaining boundaries, so I am extremely distressed now. I have been in a state of turmoil for the past year, waking up every morning worried about whether I cheated. I have thought about it ceaselessly every second of every day out of fear. Story 2. Engaged at 22 to a man who's more devoted to his exes than our future. I just can't say no to my mom, he said while I planned our wedding alone and paid for everything. Now I feel emotionally drained and unsure if I should run before June. What do I do? I am a 22-year-old female and he is a 28-year-old male. We met in August 2023 and quickly began dating. I even coincidentally met his parents on our first date. It was kind of cute and funny. It was the best first date ever, swimming under a waterfall, drinking coffee, going on an adventure, and ending the evening in his home sauna with ice cream. The date lasted about 8 hours. He expressed an interest in pursuing a serious relationship. He was very respectful, to the point that I initially wondered if he might be gay, as he barely made any physical advances until I took the initiative. By Thanksgiving, which I hosted for my friends, he assisted with the organization and we exchanged I love yous. The relationship appeared perfect. I opened up about everything from my past and he did as well. The only stumbling block was when he stated he was going out with friends, invited me, and then disclosed during the car ride that we would actually be meeting his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend, along with another guy. She was his first girlfriend from when they were both 16, his first everything including intimacy. Let's call her Gabriella. I was not comfortable with it. Even though they were merely friends, I found it odd, particularly because I did not receive any advance notice. Gabriella's boyfriend also seemed uneasy. I had a significant issue with it, my trust felt broken. I contemplated ending the relationship. However, we discussed it and I decided to stay. We began discussing marriage. He brought it up as well as having children and timelines. He did not want to wait. Then he traveled to see his grandmother in Europe for over a month during Christmas and New Year's. I remained home but went on a brief trip with friends nearby. It was challenging to be alone. I missed him. When he returned, his demeanor had shifted. He no longer seemed eager to rush into marriage. I reached the same conclusion, but it was still painful to hear it from him. He seemed distant. I also disliked that he made this decision without even consulting me. However, over time, things appeared to improve. In February, we attended an event where we encountered another one of his exes. She was quite uncomfortably friendly, attempting to dance with me and showering us with compliments. Oddly enough, this helped a little, but it also triggered more issues for me concerning his exes. We were planning to travel that summer. I wanted to visit Europe, and he initially agreed but later retracted, asserting that he needed to spend time with his grandmother. He insisted he could not spend less than 3 weeks assisting her in his village. Additionally, he had to be present for his friend's birthday, which later turned out to be on a different date than he had thought. Essentially, he was committed to his trip and would not change his mind. I arranged everything to try to make it work, but he still refused. Eventually, we decided to visit his home country for the entire month. He promised that next time we would go to Europe. It worked out because my brother ended up getting married there as well. For the record, I paid for my own tickets and everything else. The compromise was to visit another city quite far from his village for a bit, but every day involved a struggle just to make that happen. We went, and it was a lot of fun. However, we also had our fair share of arguments. During the trip, I discovered he was messaging virtually all his exes or still maintained contact with many of them, Gabriella and another girl he had casually hooked up with back home. He followed all his exes on social media, and they would like and comment on each other's posts. I loathed it. It put me in a terrible mood. He was also very moody regarding anything I desired. Essentially, he counted down the days until he could be with his grandmother. It was tough. Whenever he felt tired, he would become angry, irritable, and treat me like everything was my fault. He intended to propose during the trip, but it never materialized. There were good moments. I tried to maintain a positive atmosphere, but I became exhausted as well. Upon our return, his parents suggested we go camping across the country. We made arrangements. We had a major argument because I was fed up with his messaging other girls. Furthermore, he would not text me first, would not ask me out on dates, and wouldn't come to see me. I would only see him once a week or less, and he did not seem to care. Yet, he had no issue going to play video games with his friend. I asked him to come back and discuss things with me. He said it wasn't urgent and he would see me the following day. That night, I told him I was breaking up with him. The next day, he appeared apologetic, refusing to accept the breakup. He persuaded me to go on the trip. The drive took 2 days absolute misery. He complained incessantly about driving. It was dreadful constant fighting. We finally arrived. I wanted to end things. I was finished. The trip felt ruined, yet another wasted opportunity. During the trip, he took me out on a date, showing me around, and then on the beach he asked me to marry him. I do not know why I said yes. We experienced bad times, really bad ones, but also truly wonderful ones. The following day we drove home. The mood was off, but I tried my hardest to appear excited and happy. He continued to complain about driving, just not as much. Initially, he did not even want to inform his parents that we were engaged, claiming they would become overly excited. I insisted we call them. I began informing my family and friends. His family was kind to me. Everyone appeared happy. For the next 2 months, things were fairly good, no fighting. Then his parents became heavily involved. His mother found a venue and began pressing for it. I did not appreciate this, but we visited the location anyway. It was affordable but required an enormous amount of work which would cost just as much as a nicer venue. He disagreed. We argued about it. From the beginning, all I ever wanted was to elope. He claimed it was about making his parents happy. That was the purpose of the wedding. My parents were relaxed about it. His mother strongly opposed my plan for a 2-year engagement. She even convinced my parents to support rushing the wedding. Each day began to feel unbearable, and eventually I acquiesced. We settled on a June wedding. They wanted a winter or May wedding, but that was too soon. I conducted all the research, found a venue that suited his outdoorsy style and budget. It was slightly over budget but still extraordinarily cheap compared to the wedding market. Then the arguments over guest counts began. We had another fight regarding the exes. He helped Gabriella's parents again, maintaining secret contact without informing me. I was exasperated. He promised there would be no more. He did not seem to understand why it was a significant issue. He even joked that if it were not for me, Gabriella would have been his groomsgirl. We reconciled. Then he determined that his parents would have free reign over the guest list, literally not even providing me with names or telling me who these individuals were. No limit. I pleaded for a total of 50 guests to keep costs down, and because I dislike strangers, he refused. He wanted a large wedding. We agreed on 70 total guests, an even split. Then he reneged on that agreement, allowing his mother to invite 60 people from their side alone. Gradually, the guest list expanded. He did not care about my preferences. I was consistently portrayed as the villain. There was no compromise. I was planning everything. His mother began overstepping boundaries, agreeing with a baker on our cake without notifying us, buying shoes and dresses she liked for me which were unattractive. One time, I sent her photos of wedding dresses I tried on, and she told me I appeared like a middle-aged divorcee and should look for inexpensive dresses on Shein or AliExpress. I wept. He spoke to her, but it was not particularly useful. For context, I was responsible for paying for my dress. The only financial concerns they expressed were about things I desired. The guest count had to encompass everyone they wanted. It was little things, everyday traditions imposed upon us. Whenever I disagreed, I was deemed the villain. I requested him to confront her, but his position was that the wedding was for the parents. Meanwhile, I was still in university, planning the entire wedding, paying for at least half if not more, and receiving zero assistance-only criticism. Months of this. Occasionally, we argued about how he was ignoring me, knowing nothing about the wedding, and accusing me of demanding expensive items, even though I was focusing on DIY and keeping everything affordable. Then we fought again about when to have children. He wanted kids 1 year after the wedding. I wanted to complete university 5th year, gain a year of work experience, and achieve financial stability, not live in his parents' house. He claimed that he was the man and I was not his equal, so he had the authority to make decisions and I had to accept them. He does not earn much because he is self-employed and dislikes office jobs. I seek stability, I want to feel secure. We had a major argument, his parents intervened. I got drunk and revealed everything to them. How I was organizing everything, paying for half, receiving no support while he went to play video games. I stated he did not love me and that was acceptable, we could part ways. The next day he was first angry that I had spoken negatively about him. I am not proud of it, but they were truths not insults. Then he apologized and promised to change. For 3 weeks he was an amazing boyfriend. He did not shut me out when I cried. He cared about the wedding. He informed me when he would be late. He displayed affection I had never witnessed before. Yet I felt emotionally drained. It hurt to see him finally do the things I had pleaded for months. Even now he believes nothing has changed, that he has always behaved this way. But I am once again pleading for basic things. I inquire about when he will begin building the house extension so we could have space, and I am met with groans as if I am a warden, not a partner. He continues to complain. It is a month before the wedding. I have cried every day for the past month. I feel miserable. I do not believe I love him any longer. Even in the positive moments I feel numb, I resent him. Now even when he does nice things, I am unable to appreciate them. I am at a loss regarding what to do. So many people are invited, it would be tremendously embarrassing to walk away now. I attempted to discuss with him how I dislike living with his parents, how negative and irritable they are, and how I do not even have space for my belongings in his room, but nothing changes. He is only kind when he realizes I might actually leave. I am scared, I feel lost. Help me understand this situation, please. Story 3. My first love became my nightmare. After struggling with a porn addiction, I thought I found redemption. I need a break, she'd say, while secretly flirting with old flames. Now she's gone for good, leaving me to piece together my shattered hopes. Can I truly move on? I will begin with an explanation of the history of our relationship and how it ended up like this. This was a long-distance relationship, which I understand many people do not favor, but I ask you to try to comprehend. We met online in a game and started as friends after adding each other on Discord. After a few days, we began to grow close very quickly, and from my perspective, this was due to our similar interests and the ease with which we got along. Shortly thereafter, we were together for about a year, and it only improved, as we could read each other's thoughts and set goals we wanted to achieve when we eventually met, encouraging one another to strive diligently. During this time, I was not focused during grades 10 and 11, but thanks to her, I became dedicated in grade 12 and gained admission to university to pursue my passion for business, and she accomplished her own goals as well. The reason I was not focused earlier was that I ended my previous relationship in grade 10 after my ex-partner cheated on me, which left me feeling devastated. I became dependent on pornography, had trouble sleeping, and even experienced health issues related to my heart. However, due to her influence, I improved in grade 12, my health got better, and I enrolled in university. The only lingering problem was my continued addiction to pornography, a struggle that many men face, especially after a breakup when the fear of never finding love again can be overwhelming. I understand that it seems foolish now, but at the time, it did not feel that way. When we were approaching our anniversary, she discovered I was facing issues. I had shared my accounts with her to demonstrate my loyalty, although she did not reciprocate, which I now recognize as a warning sign, but I was oblivious at that time. She learned about my flirtatious behavior online and my ongoing pornography addiction, which she categorized as infidelity. I do not place any blame on her for that interpretation. I fully acknowledge that my actions were wrong and I never deceived her. She found out by examining my Discord messages. I had intended to confess, but honestly, how do you convey to someone you love that you have been battling an addiction for years, especially when it is difficult to overcome? She blocked me on all platforms, but the next day she added me back, stating, "I cannot let you go," and that she would give me another chance, albeit as just friends. This transition initiated the next phase of our relationship, which of course declined from that point forward. I took this second chance earnestly and spent approximately 3 months working on self-improvement exercising, spending more time with family, eliminating every distraction that could lead me back to inappropriate thoughts and taking long walks. Throughout those months, her texts became infrequent, but I did not hold it against her. I merely hoped she would notice the effort I was investing and understand my deep regret for what I had done. The thought of our shared goals and dreams was what fueled my determination to combat my addiction and become a better individual. It is astonishing to reflect on how I gained admission to university, overcame my addiction, and physically transformed through exercise. All because that relationship meant everything to me. Nevertheless, she soon gave up. She expressed that she was losing feelings, and I immediately attempted to explain my efforts, my achievements, and how I reached out to her daily, but she disregarded all of it, as if she were uninterested in the person I had become. I respected her decision and left her in peace. Soon after, I unexpectedly reconnected with a friend from high school, someone I had previously assisted with her own relationship problems. We began conversing, and I realized how remarkable she was: beautiful, intelligent, determined, and genuinely caring about me. Even when I was still lamenting over my ex-partner, she continually encouraged me to move on, reminding me that I had changed and that my efforts were significant. After a few weeks, I developed feelings for her, and she confessed she felt the same. Then, quite unexpectedly, my ex-partner returned. Initially, she claimed she just wanted to have casual conversations, but that quickly escalated. When I mentioned my new friend, she seemed desperate, perhaps even envious. She began telling me I was the best man she had ever had, how our dreams and goals mattered, and she even proposed that we get back together. She insisted that if I did not end my friendship with the new person, it would be over for us permanently. Being naive and caught up in the memories of our past ambitions, I acquiesced. I ended my relationship with the new friend, a decision I deeply regret to this day. I did send her an apology via email, but we no longer communicate due to the pain I caused her. Then my ex-partner revealed a shocking truth. On the very first day we reunited, she confessed she had been involved with multiple guys, had even dated one, and only returned because her new relationships did not work out and she missed what we had. She had waited until I blocked my new friend before disclosing this, knowing I would not have taken her back had I known sooner. Despite this, I gave her another chance, convincing myself that perhaps I could make all this suffering worthwhile. But it only worsened. A few weeks later, she developed a friendship with a guy she had been flirtatious with and dating before we even met. She re-established contact with him because his sister reached out, claiming he still thought about her. She assured me not to worry, yet I was the only one being completely honest with my social media while she concealed information. As time progressed, she messaged me less frequently, spent more time with him, and unsurprisingly, she left me for him after just a week of reigniting their past connection. A few weeks later, they broke up due to something he did wrong, according to her, and she returned to talk to me again. She started to manipulate me yet again, saying things like, "You are the only one who makes me happy." You might wonder why I continued to give her chances. Honestly, it was because our shared dreams and goals provided me with a reason to live. Before her, I felt as if I had nothing, no future, no ambition, just depression. I kept striving to make our relationship work because I did not want to lose the inspiration she had given me, even though I now recognize that to be extremely unhealthy. We reunited, but she began following a pattern. She would communicate extensively for a few days, then go silent, followed by stating, "I need a break." I allowed her space each time. Imagine the emotional turmoil I experienced after months of this cyclical behavior. She did this 7 times. I should blame myself for remaining in the relationship, but what drove me was the memory of our happy moments together. She kept assuring me that she would work on her commitment and improve, admitting that I was not the issue, but rather her failure to act upon her words. Meanwhile, I continued to enhance myself, achieving good grades, staying fit, exercising daily, while she was ensnared in a cycle of empty promises. Over time, the emotional strain caused my heart problems to resurface. My sleep deteriorated, my breathing became labored, and I genuinely felt as though my heart was suffering damage. My friends noticed how adversely she was affecting me as well. Each time she returned, I was hurt more deeply. Eventually, I made the decision to call it quits and to stop granting her more chances. She suddenly realized the extent of the harm she had caused and pleaded for another opportunity, claiming she would finally stop merely talking and start taking action. I felt hopeful for a brief moment, but then another significant issue arose. She had been creating multiple gaming accounts to conceal the fact that she was playing with other men. One day, I discovered this by creating an alternate account myself, joining the games she was in and witnessing it firsthand. When I confronted her with screenshots, she broke down, admitted how terrible she had been, and revealed that during the early stages of our on and off relationship, she had been in communication with her ex-partner, information she failed to disclose for 3 months while still fostering false hope. After all of this, I was not the same. I had lost hope in her. I could barely engage in conversation, exchanging only brief messages. One day she finally remarked, "What we have is not healthy. It is not your fault, it is mine, and I recognize that." She expressed a desire to reconnect with God, to pursue new goals, and that it was time to say goodbye. Her final words to me were, "It has been lovely, thank you. You do not need to say anything special, just thank you, I genuinely mean it, goodbye," while also indicating that throughout all these months I had been wonderful to her, providing her with chances after chances. Knowing that no other man would likely display such patience unless he genuinely sought to make things work even after enduring such pain. She deleted her Discord account afterward. I omitted many small details, but these are the key points. If you have any inquiries, please feel free to ask. Honestly, I am seeking help on how to process all of this because my thoughts are still chaotic. I miss her, but I recognize that I do not miss her as a person. I miss the moments we shared when we were happy. I fear I may never find something like that again, and I regret betraying the friend who genuinely supported me. Thank you for reading this lengthy account. I appreciate it.